Okay.
Todd and Rob in the afternoon.
Afternoon delight.
With Todd and Rob. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here we are.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Rob, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the New Media Show. And if everything's working, we are lit. I don't know. I pushed all the right buttons. We'll see.
Yeah.
And
always good to have the lights on, as they say.
Yeah. And we're just this lit thing is hokey. And I'm waiting for Dave Jones to finish some coding, being very patient. He's a busy man. And getting my team doing some stuff with our platform and getting ready. And yeah. So we're ready to kick this thing a little bit more. You know, Facebook, every time I play the Afternoon Delight, they flag us for a copyright violation.
Really?
Yep.
So I might have to change that.
Yep. That's interesting. I just figured out what was kicking it. So they can hear us. They just couldn't hear that 5 seconds, I guess. So
Todd, maybe what we should do is create our own, lead-in music between the two of us.
Okay, Rob. I draw stick figures, and when I play on the piano, it's conk, 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 conk.
Right.
But before we get into content, we did have some boost. We got 4,000 sats from Anonymous. We got 25,000 sats from Matt Kundo. He says, hey, love listening to the show. Thank you for your insights on Podcast Tudo. Very much appreciated. So we got a little bit of boost, not like some of these super shows that get lots of boosts. I guess we're not delivering value for value. So if those of you listening are listening on an old app, in other words, like an old app, an old podcast app, you need to get a new podcast app at newpodcastapps.com. That way you can participate in this brand new evolutionary stuff we're doing with Podcasting 2.0 and what the community is doing. And actually, I had some interesting meetings this week that I cannot divulge what was said, but if your company is in the podcasting business and you're an app developer or are you a host and you're not involved in Podcasting 2.0, we'll see you later. Bye-bye, alligator.
Those are going to get left behind.
They are going to get left behind. They absolutely are. And some may be drug in kicking and screaming. But I'll just leave it at that.
Well, there are lots of factors at play now that will potentially cause that to happen.
Lots of factors at play that may. So, you better get a hold of it. You better get ahead of the 8 ball right now. And if you're a podcaster and you're not excited about this, then, people say, why are you always talking about Podcasting 2.0? Well,
that's because it's where the innovation is.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's where the innovation is. And I'm a little, okay, I shouldn't switch topics. Let me finish this. So anyway, I think there's a great headwind. No, headwind's the wrong thing. That holds you back. I think there's great tailwind. The great tailwinds are coming to push it along in a big way. So
the new Podcast 2.0 tags, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Now, if someone listens to the last episode of the Podcasting 2.0 show last Friday and take your time and not be doing something else and really listen, you might go, a little bit. And that I had from that show last Friday prompted me to set up some meetings this week. And all I will say is that turned into a pretty good and I'll just leave it at that.
That's a pretty serious
yes, it is. Yes. So But you have to listen. You have to know what you're listening for. There's no secrets here. Everything's being done in the open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you can't think 5 steps ahead, you're already 5 steps behind. So
yeah, because we will come out of this economic slump that we're in right now.
There is one?
Well, there's a lot of indications out there that would say that might be the case. And it may get a little bit worse before it gets better, but I do keep hearing, rumors or discussions that we may come out of this sometime in the next 9 months. And so there is light at the end of the tunnel to some degree. So we just need to keep focused on the prize, and that prize is continuing innovation and improvement in the medium. And we will go through some adjustments and some changes and consolidations and people, not being with us in the next phase.
And there's a lot of content creators that are looking at options.
Yeah, I think that the landscape is changing.
Yep.
I mean, from what I'm hearing, and you're probably hearing the same thing, is that there is on the advertising side, everybody's been all excited about the advertising side of podcasting over the last couple of years, and we're seeing kind of a significant reduction in interest in campaigns. That it's not necessarily translating into reduced CPMs,
right?
But as far as campaigns, and the other big thing that's changed that I'm definitely hearing a lot is around guarantees. Especially with the bigger platforms and the bigger networks.
Rob, the free money is gone.
They were counting on a lot of guaranteed revenue coming in, or at least revenue that they thought was coming in based on performance. But a lot of that opportunity is drying up now. So people are back to the way it's primarily always been, and that's merit-based campaigns.
When commercial interest rates are at 8.5%, the free money is gone. And when people say free money, what are you talking about? Free money, free money. Well, when interest rates were 0 or doggone near, you were basically getting free money. And now that money costs money, then, people aren't willing to invest as much, and they're looking for guarantees, and they're looking for cash positive businesses and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you cannot lose money in this environment and not get punished for it heavily, because there's nowhere to go dip for another pile of cash. So that's what
the scuttlebutt in the industry right now is, that there's a group of companies, or large and small companies, that are going to get hit pretty hard because they're not going to be able to deliver on the guarantees that they have promised.
That's right.
And that's going to create a negative cash flow situation that could take some people down, unfortunately.
So let me talk to you a little bit about the situation that has happened to me personally. Personally, I got 2 things. I want to talk about brand safety. I want to come back to that. And I want to talk about what happened to me today. Mm-hmm. I've had a booking service, been using one for 6 months. We had a strategic goal for me being on some additional shows. And if you want
for you,
for me to be booked on other podcasts. So I had hired a booking company to do that.
Yeah, I've done that before, and it's worked out well.
It worked out well, and I got ready to get my renewal, and I said, let's renew. And they said, well, you need to talk to this person. It's the ownership has changed hands. And the person I was using before is no longer in charge, and the person I talked to today didn't know who I was.
They sold the business? Is that what happened?
They sold the business, but this person's in podcasting and didn't know who I was. A variety of different things. And oftentimes, isn't it important you know who your client is if you're going to pitch them for a renewal? So
I've heard a couple of those kind of booking agencies were on the block.
Yeah, the one that I was working with, I didn't even know they got sold. It was done silently. There was no news about it being picked up. And so I basically am now on the hunt to get proposals from new booking agencies. So I reached out to a couple of people today of folks that I've met at various podcasting events, So if you have a booking service and would like my business, drop me an email, todd@blueberry.com, to pitch me what you're going to do for me. So anyway, that's that. Because the price of the place I was using before,
They can be expensive.
oh, they went ridiculously expensive, and the ROI, there has to be good ROI, and you're going to charge those types of premium prices for those types of service. I don't need a social media club partner. Don't know doing the shorts for me. I just need you to find me the right shows to be booked on. It's all I'm asking. It's not complicated. Don't need this whole package. I just need you to hit this target, right? So anyway, that's that. And if you think about getting in that business and you want me to be as your first client, well, talk to me too. The second thing is, after we talked about that, not value for value. After we talked about brand safety on the last show, I had this nag that was going in the back of my head. And it was like, I didn't know what to say on the show. I don't know if you recognize it, but I was a little annoyed on the last show. And I was a little grumpy too. Just a little grumpy. And
yeah, because I've been actually digging into it and trying to learn as much about it as I can, seeing the demos of tools and things that are out there that are trying to do this.
And interestingly, I did a tweet and I said,
right,
brand safety, blah, 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 blah. Most overused word of 2022. Time to get some thick skin. And there was a comment that someone made in the industry that kind of like, well, this is what we have to do. And I said, my response was, do you truly believe that? Mm-hmm. They came back and said yes. And then someone that we both know, Brian Barletta, came in and made a comment, and he actually kind of, because I had basically said, this is my summation, my Reader's Digest version, is that brand safety, while we understand what it is, and the word of having content that is safe for advertisers, what it really is listener targeting. It's more than brand safety. It's about who's listening, the age they're listening. It's not about brand safety. It's brand targeting. And
I would tend to agree with that. I think it's had a tinge of alignment with concerns around kind of political speech, right? Certain brands don't want to be aligned with certain type of political speech. And I think that's really where the safety has come in. But I do think that the core technology of it is really based on contextual targeting, not so much just safety.
And I think at the same point, it's also maybe a little bit about, because I had a conversation with someone that really knows the space well, and we're having a conversation about it. And I said, what it really boils down to is advertisers want to be able to target by IP and to be able to deliver the most relevant ad to that person directly. Whatever you're going to say, it's all about this targeting piece. And
well, brand safety doesn't inherently key-based targeting approach.
Oh, okay, but it's kinda. It's a part of the same. It can, but I think
the companies that are kind of at the cutting edge of this are playing with transcripts.
Right. But at the same time, they want this other piece, and
I'm sure, yeah.
And someone had made a comment in the Twitter thread. Brand safety feels like an illegal cartel where the biggest advertising buyers collude to push a market around. I thought, that was a good one. I liked that.
Well, it's the buying side.
I like that.
It's the total. I mean, it is true. I mean, it's the buying side of the market that's really pushing this.
So I like that a lot. I like that commentary per se. Right. And so I just I'm at a point now where when someone tells me about brand safety, we're worried about brand safety. What's the rest? Be public about what you're saying And that in that, yes, we want the brands to be safe, but we also want to know like what's going on in that podcast and be able to deliver the message. Da 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 da. That's everything that's in, like you said, they're encompassed. It's all under this brand safety. This illusion of
it's a justification for the deployment of the technology that will actually do contextual targeting,
right,
which is kind of the next evolution based on the limited kind of market acceptance of IP targeting. So what's the other alternative here? It would be contextual targeting. Now, granted, that may not be as good as IP targeting, but it may get us down the path, especially if you apply AI technology and AI learning to these platforms. And that's the big thing that's different here is the AI level of the context, which has always been, and I think we talked about this last week, it's always been the holy grail, really, of understanding what's in the content.
So in the end, it doesn't necessarily help podcasters are trying to build their show. So in this context, it's all about the advertising piece, and I don't want to spend forever on it.
Right. That's true.
But it is. But
shows need to be worried about this because this does get into the content of what those shows are producing, and if they're producing content that is not favorable in the eyes of the advertiser, they are going to be filtered out.
Well, at what point do advertisers start being brave? To me, it's
that's basically what the safety word means, right, Todd?
They're not brave.
They don't want to take risks.
None. They have zero tolerance for risk.
Mm-hmm. Especially in this kind of political and kind of.
But there's only a small segment of shows. But there's only a small segment of shows that are political. If you're political, you're political.
It's cultural too. It's not. It's not. It goes beyond just political.
So here's what's going to happen, and this is why podcasters need to understand that there has to be. You have to think differently now. If they're going to exclude 25% on the right and 25% on the left, if they're going to throw those two swaths of content, if they're going to throw 50% of the content out, and they will, they're going to throw 25% of the content that's on the right and 25% of the content on the left out, and you have to be down the middle, to me, that's going to make for a pretty boring podcast.
Yeah. Well, also, there's another end of that spectrum too, is where that brand only filters out one side of the 25%, but they leave the other side in. So it's just true. But at the same point, it's like when are we? It almost makes me. There's a lot of stuff on TV. Yeah.
That, wow. They're advertising that. So you talk about brand safety. I think there's a lot more stuff on TV that's not brand safe than in podcasting. So, but they're not, are they being held to the same standards?
Well, I believe this technology is being utilized in all media.
I think it's being used in digital a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it's being done very much on broadcast per se. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's already watered down, so I don't think that there's a lot of. I think on the broadcast side, it's pretty one side or the other.
I guess just call me old. I want the days of a podcast like I think I named it last week, the Daily Download, where the individual was recording his podcast on his can. In his bathroom, running and having an advertiser. I miss the raw days. I guess it's gone. It's gone forever. So, seeing that it is, then content creators have to start really, really thinking hard that, did I say advertisers? Creators need to start thinking very, very hard about how they're going to build the value for their audience that is going to bring dollars back to them in ways where advertisers are not part of the equation.
Yeah, I think that's the reaction to this, is that we're going to see more direct show support
Has to
from
be.
audiences.
Has
Right.
to be. Because if advertisers are going to be a little bunch of scared babies, of having someone worried about using a swear word or saying something a little controversial or because they're afraid three people are going to write the company and say, "Oh my God, you're supporting a show that talked about this,"
Or one person,
right?
that basically takes the whole thing down. I think we've seen an example of that, a podcast movement, right?
So, at what point,
Yep.
and that's where, for me, it's like, when did we become such wimps and not have thick skin?
I agree with you, Todd. Tolerance is something that we don't really have a whole lot of in our culture now.
If I could go back to the days of when if I could bring threads up from when I was working in had a FidoNet node and a dial-up bulletin board, and it was called Fido, Fido net, but it was really Fight-O-Net. Because there was forums in there where it was brutal.
Passionate debate.
Huge debate and back and forth, and you had to have pretty thick skin or you would walk away whimpering.
Right.
So where did we get to the point where
no sticks and stones here, right? So
that doesn't exist anymore, Rob.
I know, because we've all become, or not all of us, but many have become overly sensitive.
And I understand. Don't get me. And yep. Yep. So I guess I missed the ability to be strong and be direct. And instead of having to tiptoe around the topic and have to have the ugly baby conversation.
Well, I think that we can all learn from each other. That's
have
the thing.
to.
It's almost want just be in our little bubble and not have to think about anything different than maybe what we assume is the reality we would like.
And I don't think, is this just a U.S. thing?
I don't think so. I think it's a cultural phenomenon that's happening around the world. And it's because of the internet, Todd. I mean, I think we've become kind of bubble centric. This is a factor that happened with the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I both have been involved in the online digital space for a long time and have been proponents of this medium. Back when I started getting involved in promoting it with a radio show that I was doing, and I thought this was going to be the ultimate democratization of human communication, but as it's turned out, it's turned out to be quite a bit less productive than that. It's actually become harmful, which is, I think that reality has kind of always been there. It's just we just haven't handled it very, very well as a human species, right?
Yeah, it's
just too sensitive.
And it's I know Adam's listening and he's giggling because he has built something on his primary show that.
Oh, you're talking about Adam Curry and
Dave Weiner.
The No Agenda show.
And if you want to listen to something remarkable, don't even listen to the show. Go about 2 hours in on $14.99, $1,500, and $1,501, and just listen to the donation segment and the amount of money that they earned around their 15th or 16th anniversary and their 1500th episode. Go listen to that donation segment and get your calculator out. And it takes about an hour to get through each segment.
Yeah.
And they're not beholden to an advertiser. They're beholden to their audience and producing great content. And maybe it is, I shouldn't even use the word beholden. their audience has they're producers. They're part of the show, and I think we all can start paying attention to more of these shows that are on this model of you give me what you think I'm worth. If you think the advice I've just given you was worth
It's the
$1,
value for value model.
give me
right?
$1. And if you think the value that I've given you is $5,000, then you give me $5,000. You know, because there's been a few things that have been said in some shows before. I was like, you know, and ding, ding, I send a donation because it provided value to me, you know, and it was a tangible value. It's like, you know, if you paid someone, when people, I don't do very many paid consults because we work just right with our hosting customers. But when someone's not a hosting customer and they want to do a consult with me, they pay me for that consult. And it's the same model. You know, you're paying someone for their value, their time, the value of their content. I think this is, for a podcasting space, how we have to start thinking, especially shows that are not these mega shows that can just, you know, get a check.
Yeah.
I think we all have to learn to, and again, it goes back to this perspective, you know, and I did an interview earlier this week where I told about visualizing the audience, you know, and if you do a Google image, and this is, we've talked about this on the show before, but if you do a Google search just on, you know, let's just say 1,000, if you have 1,000 people listening to your show, and let me do this, 1,000 people, and then let me click on an image here, you know, and bring this up on the screen, see if I can do this without jacking up our show stuff here. Let me go switch 8, 7, 6. You know, and there's 1,000 people. And if you can value, you know, that's 1,000 people. If you can value that and say, oh my God, that's how many people are listening to me, you might take a little more time in your show prep in being prepared to present to them the content that you're going to present to them and give them better value. Because oftentimes we lose sight of what 1,000 people look like, or 100 people, or 15,000 people, or 60,000 people. And if we can do that and visualize that in our heads, how many people are actually listening to our shows, I think podcasting would get much better very quickly. Because if I was going to stand in front of a stage and speak to those 1,000 people, I would probably be a little bit prepared than I was when I sit down for this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, we're thinking more about the audience and less about other things.
you know, I think that's what it is. It's you know, and again, you know, you maybe only have 50 people listening to your show, but the same mechanism works as far as visualizing that
it's getting
crowd.
back to the basics, true. I mean,
this
medium and what it was really created to accomplish. And I think that's something that we kind of we've kind of forgotten about it to some degree, or I think we've gotten so focused on the commercial aspects of this that we've kind of lost sight of who the real customer is.
Right.
And the customer is the listener.
Yep.
And I'm not, you know, I think we've shifted, and this is a little bit of, I think, the influence of radio. I mean, I'll be frank about it. I've been around long enough to see how this works, that the radio industry kind of lost their way because they started to focus on who they thought their customer really was, and that's the advertiser. And the audience was a product that they sold to advertisers.
Yep.
But it wasn't their core product. So, yeah.
So it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
No.
You got to learn to not be afraid to ask your listeners for that ask. Did you get value from this conversation or this presentation or this show? And make
if
it.
you're an online content creator at any level, that's the question you have to ask yourself, whether it be something you're doing on YouTube or anywhere.
But the problem is on YouTube, they don't give you, unless you're a super user, there's no way we're not streaming live on YouTube right now. We had people from the last show watch on YouTube. How many people we got over there today? 3. We got a whopping 3 on YouTube right now. So, the 3 on YouTube, they have no way to send me or send us a donation.
Right. That's true.
Because we're just some puny thing on YouTube. So,
yeah.
Yet, where do people listen to the show? They listen, wherever they listen. We know they listen. We get their feedback.
Yeah.
And I think, too, that's another thing, too. Listeners should start to feel a little more obligated to give their content, the folks that they are listening to, some feedback. Because I can tell a content creator, you need to have we have to have the ugly baby conversation. But what I say, well, Todd is, he's biased. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But you have a listener give you feedback. Whoa.
Yeah.
Because if one says it, 100's thinking it.
Todd, to kind of maybe change the topic a little
Sure.
bit here, but I was reading an article that popped up this past week off of a site that was talking about the future of podcasting is AI, is the article, and that's artificial intelligence, and how that technology, which is rolling across the technology landscape, which, if we think about it, technology has always been kind of a backdrop to podcasting. I mean, a lot of what has happened with podcasting has always followed in the coattails of technological, improvement and changes. And AI is certainly starting to come into the mix more and more. And, around voice processing to transcript, context and understanding, like we were talking about before. But I saw in this article a phrase that I hadn't heard yet, but it may be a good word to think about as maybe a new word in podcasting, and it's basically podcast-like content. I don't know if you've heard that term before, or pod-like as a hashtag, and it's basically podcast content, or what is perceived as podcast content that may not be podcast content. So there's this kind of movement that may be linked up with artificial intelligence that may make it easier for people to create podcast-like content, right? In video form, audio form. I'm just curious. I mean, and you're starting to see also talk about more proprietary platforms kind of moving in to actually even start thinking about replacing RSS too. So you're starting to see
again,
right? So this is going to be a common theme that we're going to be up against, I think, on a regular basis as more automation comes to podcasting.
Well, people are sure lazy. They want everything done for them. So,
well, yeah, but Todd, I mean, you and I both with our hosting platforms have spent the last few years trying to simplify, right?
Yep.
And trying to make it as easy for content creators to create their shows and publish them and get them out there. And I think AI is kind of a natural evolution of that. I guess what it gets back to is, when AI reaches a point where it's getting in the way, I guess, of authentic content versus artificially generated or manipulated content, I think is where we kind of get into this gray area of whether or not it's good or not.
So they are actually talking about an AI voicing a podcast?
Well, I think that's one aspect of it. I think as you think about the Descript platform, you can kind of see how that, and there's other platforms that are, heading down that path as well, where you kind of have the ability to use AI to analyze a transcript and be able to do edit and then audio creation and then audio editing and all that stuff.
So
interchangeably.
a Grammarly for podcasting.
Of sorts, it could be, right? And that raises all sorts of other issues too. When you think about accuracy, about authenticity, around podcasters, right? I mean, I could conceivably write a document today, upload it to Descript, and Descript could take a clone of my voice and voice that as though I had said it.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I know. Well, I mean, eventually I'm going to play
give
with
it
that.
give it a try and see what happens.
Right. And see how it comes across.
Well, we can take a transcript. We can take a transcript of this show and then have them voice it and see what it sounds like.
Yeah, or I just write it. Well, the problem is that writing to voice is a completely different challenge.
Yeah, that's of course.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really knows how to write the same way they speak.
It's not like you can put in this dramatic pause.
So you have this kind of like this opportunity maybe for like movie script writers, right? That maybe know how to write in spoken word.
Rob, by the time this thing gains any true traction, I am going to be long retired and maybe even dead. So
I don't know, Todd. I think it's going to happen a lot faster than you think. I think you're going to still be around because this stuff's already developing. I mean, it's
so who wants to listen to some artificially
tell the difference, Todd? If you can't tell the difference, I mean, if I can have a podcast where I don't actually have to get on a microphone, I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Would you trust your voice to be gentle?
Well, if I created the voice clone, right? If I own the voice clone, and the only difference is that I'm writing it instead of voicing it.
Okay, good luck with that.
Yeah. I don't know where there's a big advantage to that because I do think that writing
it's more
takes
work.
longer to create content than it does to actually speak it.
Yeah.
So it's just the editing part. So if you struggle on the presentation side, there's going to be a lot of editing involved. But like we all know with you, Todd, you don't do any editing, so that's not a time saver.
Yeah.
So
it is a I guess I just go back old school, and I have a hard time believing that some artificial intelligence is going to be able to sound better and maybe be more cognizant and have more emotion than what a human can be. And when it does, guess what? Life is over as we know it, and we might as well just let the robots take over and jack me in and give me some sort of IV and keep me alive, and
Well, it's probably safe to say that whatever company that is, it's probably going to be owned by Elon Musk, right? So
maybe.
Since he's owning all the other AI technologies out there.
Well, I know engagement on Twitter's been way up. It's been very, very entertaining to hang out on Twitter and watch people lose their proverbial minds. And, and it's been good for Mastodon. As a matter of fact, I had to close off my Mastodon, just allowing people to sign up with willy-nilly because I had all kinds of people coming in and signing up for Mastodon that were not fans of my show. So now I have to turn it so there's an approval process to get on my Mastodon server.
Yeah, but you're right, Todd. People have lost their minds about Elon just in general. I mean, have you seen the Tesla stock price? Well,
it's, there's a good buy there.
There is a good buy. I bought some this week, so if that tells you anything.
So yeah, it's just, it is what it is, and people, wait, let's leave it alone. I just, it's one of those things that it's all going to work out in the wash. And if you want to keep your blue check mark, got to pay the $8. If you don't pay the $8. Twitter will still be there.
Can you actually sign up for that yet, or is it just
no? I got a
right now?
I got a notification that my Twitter Blue at $4.99 a month was going to be canceled, but I couldn't find the link to convert it to the new $8 account.
I haven't been able to find the $8 a month.
No, I don't think it's
plan.
out yet. I think they're, his deadline of like last Sunday or whatever it was, where people were going to get fired. I don't think people got fired. I just don't think they got it done. So, but again, to me, it's been entertaining just to watch people proverbially lose their minds. And the thing is, and just wait until they let all these banned
he
characters.
Hasn't made any changes yet. That's the thing.
And wait that's like the parody rule has been in there since 2017. The only change they made was that you had to, instead of getting a suspension, you were going to get a ban. But the parody rule has been there for years. So oh my God, they canceled a parody. Well, they enforced it, is what they did. They enforced the rules that were already on the books. But people don't know that. They're like flipping out, so.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear about all of the talk about the back doors in these platforms that the government had access to.
Oh, did they find back? I haven't heard that.
Well, yeah, there's like a portal for each of these social networks that the government can get into and block people and filter people and all sorts of stuff.
Facebook apparently has some portal that they can get in, and they can basically say, hey, they can recommend that this be squelched but that's pretty scary when you let the government come in and make suggestions about. So do I trust the government to come in and from a national security point, there might
trust anybody anymore.
Well, from a national security point, there might be a reason for like, okay, someone's put the nuclear weapons code on the online or whatever. There's something, that kind of stuff, maybe. But when it comes to speech, I got a pretty big problem with that.
I mean, if somebody's talking about, a vaccine or something like that, it's, what I'm saying. That's probably not the thing that we want going on.
Well, again, I'm not. I think more speech is better. And
I agree with you.
And and everything you have,
that kind of stuff should be hands off.
But the part of the problem is people want everyone checked. They want everyone checked. It has to be checked. But who's going to check the checkers? And we've seen
the problem. Are the people checking the checkers the people that are wanting the control?
Right. And it's just like, okay, all of a sudden now the Wuhan virus thing, now it's come from the lab, and everyone else that was saying that before got checked, they got checked into submission, but you think they're going to freak out now? You wait until they let all these characters that have been banned from Twitter back on.
I don't know if all of them are going to want to come back, Todd.
Well,
that's the thing.
The one that everyone's worried about has said he's not coming back. So,
it's because he's got his own platform.
Right. He says that I can't come up.
Created these parallel economies, right?
And believe me, the only people who are going to like hang out on a Mastodon are the geeks, because it's it's not a Twitter experience.
Right.
They're very quickly going to be bored. There isn't going to be the dopamine hit over there.
Todd, are we rapidly coming back to a show here that should be renamed the Saturday Morning Tech Show?
No.
Again? Is that what's happening?
No,
here?
but it's just the world right now.
Right.
We're supposed to be one of the most modern countries in America, but yet we can't count all the ballots in one night. It's just like we have electronics. What? Come on.
Well, some states things went smoothly last night, right?
I don't know. I actually did not watch any of it.
Oh, you didn't?
Not a bit, because it's just that is stroke inducing content.
It's not good for your
it's not good. It's not good for your mental health. All this stuff.
Cortisol levels, right?
No,
it's the stress levels.
Yeah, it's not good. So it's like, I know some people get into it and they dive in and they suck it up and they eat it and live it, and next thing you know, they're stroked out. They're in the grave. You don't need that kind of stress. It's just like the mainstream media. Don't need to listen to any of it.
Yeah.
Go listen to podcasts to feed your brain. That's one thing I said in my book. When I wrote my book in 2004, 2005, I said, the beauty about podcasting is you get to choose what you want to listen to and what you get to feed your brain.
Right.
Since 2004, I've been able to select programming that I want to listen to, that I want to use to feed my brain, to make sure that I'm getting to the type of information I want in the topics I want by hosts that I like to hear. And along with controversy as well, not just one-sided blah, blah, blahs. That's that we have to come back to this, come back to basics and understand this is the value of podcasting, is diverse voices, diverse opinions, the ability to, to have a debate and conversation and not just get talked to like we're stupid. So
yeah, it's gonna, I especially like the newsletter today, the Pod News newsletter today. Did you see the headline? It was like this side down, this side up, and it was like Acast and
I didn't pay
Odyssey. One being up in their revenue, and the other one being way down and about to be delisted from the stock exchange.
Rob, you wouldn't know anything about being delisted.
Well, that was for different reasons than this.
Okay,
right?
well, still.
But, still, right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but the common thread across all this is losses.
Yeah, and the company that made money still lost money.
Right, exactly. So you can kind of see why they cut staff.
Here's an interesting thing. When we were building Blueberry with no VC money,
right,
building it with our own sweat and tears, why didn't you grow faster? Well, I couldn't.
Right.
Couldn't grow faster. This is how much money we made. This is how much, there was, there's this thing called a bottom line. You lose money as a private company for 2 or 3 years, and guess what? You're out of business.
Right.
So you have to, we build our company conservatively. We build it to have profit or very close to breaking even, and because when you have a bunch of profit, then Uncle Sam takes 36% of it. So, you invest wisely, add people as you can. It's
this is what's happening right now in the podcasting industry is driving a lot of pressure on a lot of the players in the medium to drive results, drive revenue. There's just a lot of pressure right now. And if you look at even the changes that Captivate announced here, where they significantly up their download limits.
Right.
On their plans, it's trying to add more value so you can
look at what we've been doing.
Right. No, I know.
We're getting ready to announce a whole bunch of stuff. I got like 5 things in the works. Boom, 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 adding more value.
Right. That's what this type of economic environment creates is pressure on companies to drive more value to their customers. Right.
It's a and there's more. It's not just value. It is.
Well, it's results, whatever you want to call it. Right?
It's really. Well, we put it right on our website: publish, analyze, grow. Helping them publish, help them analyze, and give them tangible information to grow their shows.
Yeah, and that also puts pressure on employees. It puts pressure on the corporate leaders of these companies to do the best they can. There's pressure, and if you don't, then there's a consequence for that.
That's right. Yeah. And knock on wood, we're doing good, and we're not doing great, we're doing good, but good is steady.
It will probably cause you to survive.
Right.
Great, may just not be possible.
And I'm not going to go out and do something strategically stupid,
Right.
that we're just going to continue to do what we've got a very, we've got a very good roadmap of where we're heading, what we're planning, and everyone's executing. Sure, I could use I could use about 4 more marketing people. I could use about 2 more salespeople. Sure, but can I afford it? Nope, can't do it.
Well, the other side of that too is you can have tons of marketing, but it may not convert any more than what you have right now.
Right.
So,
right. But instead, it's just longer hours for me, and doing jack of all trade stuff. It's so
it's the price of being an owner.
That's right. If people think running, I get a little sleep.
Yeah.
I get more than I used to, but still, it's 10, 12-hour days.
Yeah.
And then I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
Because you got to do what you got to do to keep the revenue coming in, keeping the employees employed, keep the ball moving forward.
And you don't always make money if you're an owner. That's the part that a lot of people don't realize. Unless you've owned a business that's struggled.
I don't have a Lamborghini.
Right.
I drive a Ford Edge. That sucks gas at $4.50 a gallon or something like that.
So are you on heating oil there, Todd?
No, I'm on
up in
propane.
Michigan. You're on propane?
Gas or whatever it is. Yeah, to fill my propane tank, and it was only like half because we fill it twice a year. Usually it's $500 to fill it. It was $750 this time to fill it.
A large propane tank? Is that what it was?
It's got. I think it's a 250-gallon propane tank. I don't know. It's one of those standard ones.
That's a good size one.
Standard ones by houses, and I think it was down half. And it sends a signal to the people. They come fill it, and they hand me a bill. And usually it was $500 to fill it. Actually, about $1,000 a year to fill it. So it was my heating costs have went up at least 33%, at least. But no heating oil.
I just disconnected my heating oil connection in my house, so it's all a heat pump now, the whole thing.
Well, good luck with that.
It's working great. So,
but I just spent 2.5 days without power again. So this makes 12 days this year. I've had no power at
really
where I live in the country. For some reason, the grid in our area is not well maintained or something. So went on diesel generator, and that's 50 gallons of diesel a day to run the generator to keep the lights on. And
that's the big worry right now is that in big chunks of the country, the electricity is generated based on burning diesel oil.
And guess what? There's a diesel shortage.
Right.
So.
And there's reasons for that.
Oh, but, so at some point, here's the thing. When the diesel fuel shortages run out and the grocery stores are empty, then people might start to say, well, maybe we should start pumping here again. And maybe we should.
People are going on a diet, right, Todd?
And maybe people should be. Maybe we should put a few nuclear power plants in. We're so anti-nuclear. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah, I just bought some stock in a uranium company here in North America.
Probably a good investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's. I think if you combine that with the renewables, I think you have a good mix.
But the problem is, if you start building a nuclear power plant today, it'll be 25 years before it becomes online. So,
well, from what I understand, that there are newer technologies out there, smaller nuclear power plants that can be built.
But regulatory in the United States, 25 years.
It shouldn't take that long.
With the current mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to have to figure out how to put solar panels on the moon and run a wire back to the Earth.
Good luck with that.
I'm just being stupid.
Yeah, we just kind of surround the whole moon or half of the moon actually with solar panels, because you can't put it on the backside because there's no light back there. But so we got it all figured out, Todd. So
Right.
just put all the solar panels.
Oh,
over
we
there.
are really digressing today. People are like, all right, I'm out of here. You're not giving me any value.
You want to tune in to find out about podcasting? We're done with that.
But
No,
you know, it's in all reality, though, it's been a little slow.
it has been.
And I think a lot of people have their head down, working hard to make sure they stay employed. So,
And I don't know that we're done with the layoffs either. I think there's a lot more.
so I see Libsyn is going to the London event. I saw the booth in the layout. Not a cheap event to attend. Oh my goodness.
Well, I gave Libsyn good feedback on that event. So
Oh my goodness. It's very expensive to go to that event. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll see. I'll probably have
so
to
are
make
you exploring it?
I've got to make a decision within the next week. So, because there's not many booths left. And they did not do a good job reaching out to people, or people just reached out and they didn't have to reach out to nobody.
I don't think they really had to do much
No.
outreach because they were pretty close to being sold out.
There,
Last year.
it's all huge booths. It's, it's the Anchor and, all the big companies are there. There's no little companies like mine. There's no little companies there like that. It's big multinational, big groups. So it makes me concerned that there's not going to be, you were there. Was there a good flow of independent content creators, or were they all radio people?
Well, keep in mind too that market is a little different than the U.S. I mean, it's very much kind of like a public radio type of market. Of course, all of Europe is kind of like that. So it's a little bit of a different orientation. There's a lot of production companies there, but you're right. I mean, in general, a lot of the bigger companies are there, more companies that are working with, 25 to 100 different podcasts to help produce them and support them and things like that. Or there's a big thing going on. But I do know that in certain areas around the perimeter of the event, there were open booth spaces that were available.
If anyone knows who runs the Canadian Podcast Awards, I'd like to talk to them. They have a category that I'm concerned about.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
What's
it's called
that?
the People's Choice.
Oh,
Yeah,
where's
so
that?
yeah, a little concern there. So I just want to have a conversation with them. So if anybody knows someone over there, I
Well, I think that there's a couple of podcast awards around the world too that are using the same name too. as
well, if they are, well, we'll have to have a conversation with them too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can have a podcast award, but People's Choice is mine.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as that specific reference, right? I agree.
Yeah. But of course, Marco said he's going to close his web player, and I learned
yeah, I saw
I
that.
learned something from. Did you know that Overcast passed in its basically it passes in some code when you do a I don't know if he does it when it's a feed. Anyway, there's a place where Marco tells how many subscribers you have to your podcast in Overcast. It's basically in the metadata. And I did not know this existed. He needs to do a better job of publicizing that kind of stuff, that you can pull that out and actually show a podcaster how many subscribers they have on that app. Yep. Never knew it was there.
Yeah.
But it's plain as day in some of his code, some of his
interesting.
documentation. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. I also saw that there was some data released about podcasts in Arabic in Saudi Arabia. I guess there was 120 million speakers of the language in that part of the world.
There's more. Well, the number's close to 300 million total Arabic speakers, with probably upwards of 600,000 that can understand it. I mean, 600 million that can understand it.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah. But
600 million.
yeah,
Wow.
if you Google Just Google how many Arabic speakers there are. How
or folks from that part of the world that understand English. I mean, is what you're saying, or
no Arabic
speak
native Arabic speakers. How many?
Got it.
About 313 million Arabic speakers. If you count all the varieties of today's Arabic together, about 313.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
making
it's a big market.
Yeah, and but it's still a relatively small percentage of the world, only about 4%. And believe it or not, Egypt is the biggest with 84 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Algeria and Sudan and Iraq. There's about 20 other countries that speak Arabic for its
So have you
primary
seen
language.
a big shift of podcasters moving off of Sounder?
I haven't actually had them tracked. I know we've moved some, but I think many of them are trying to get their act together and figure out where they're going to move to. I saw that
Right.
Libsyn offered a 6-month free deal.
Yep. And I think Spreaker offered the same. I
Yeah.
believe.
So,
Yeah.
and I saw some social stuff where people are moving to different platforms. So they've given them a little time to move. So, I haven't seen this big, huge influx of people. I'm sure a lot of those shows over there don't even know they're shutting down yet.
Yeah, because I guess they're not shutting down till the end of the year. Is that
Well,
right?
they gave them 3 months, I think. So, but
Yeah, I think it's the end of the year.
but it's you might be using a service and not read the emails from them.
I'm sure that happens a lot, actually.
Right. So hopefully they have something in their dashboard that is basically, saying that we're pulling the plug.
Okay, it says here Sounder podcast platform is going to shut down January 31st, 2023.
What?
Or no, wait. It says it says
Yeah. 2023.
We have
January
January 31st, 2023.
Yeah, that makes
All
sense.
advertising solutions will stop operating a month earlier on December 31, 2022. So they're shutting down the monetization of the
I wonder how
platform.
big their team was.
Not sure on that.
Amazed me. They said they had 5,000 podcasts hosted over there. That was pretty surprising.
Like 5,400, I think. Was
Yeah, that's a pretty big number for someone that I've maybe heard of once or twice.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of shows, newer shows here over the last year or so, a lot of them have gone to the newer platforms.
Yeah. They're moving. There's so many to choose from.
Right.
It's not surprising.
Yep. So anyway, I think we're going to probably likely see maybe a few more like this happen. But this is really this Sounder thing is really more of a change in business model. They're moving over to, and this dovetails to what we were talking about earlier about brand safety and data and analytics with AI technology is what they're shifting over to.
And, a lot of these companies that have come in that were later, they didn't have to pay the economy of scale. We could have grown much faster if I didn't have to, in the early days of podcasting, pay 21 cents a gigabyte.
Right.
For bandwidth.
And the CEO of Sounder is formerly the VP of Global Business Operations for Spotify. So I don't know if you knew that.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And then he also worked as the VP of Global, the general manager of AOL, Director of Global Market Development for Google. And also worked for Flipboard.
Yeah,
as well.
some serious credentials there. He's been around the block.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to watch the space and see what happens with everything.
Yeah.
I noticed that there hasn't been as many advertisers on Pod News too. That was also an indication that people aren't spending as much money. So I've been watching the ad load over there because he was as high as 3, 4, 5 advertisers in the classified area. And
I see what you're saying.
recently it's been 2 or 3. So,
Well, the percentage that I've heard from a few other players in the industry is that advertising is off like 40% or something like that.
Really?
And with some of the networks.
Oh, then there's going to be a bloodbath if it's off that far. 40%.
Well, that's total buys. That's not necessarily CPMs dropping. It's just total buys.
Oh, well, okay. So it doesn't mean the CPMs are going down, but the total is still 40% cut in ad deals is massive.
That is a huge cut.
That's
right?
massive.
Now, that isn't reflective of a large number of networks or anything like that. That's just a sampling of a couple that I've heard of.
Right. Now, Veritone also lost $5.7 million. So,
Right.
again, if I lost $5.7 million, Rob, I'd be done. I'd be gone. We'd be out of business. Kaput. No more in existence. Looking for jobs.
And that's why you don't do guarantees. Because that will... Those that did those kind of deals are in jeopardy right now.
I'm following you now. Oh, they guaranteed revenue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the stupidest thing ever. Why would you have
common? But that's common here over the last couple of years, Todd.
I would never do a deal like that's how they entice them to come over, guaranteed revenue.
Well, and some of these were guarantees put against shows that hadn't even been launched yet.
Oh, that's when you had that free money.
Well, it's if it's a show that has a brand or a network that has a brand that people feel confident. I mean, think, the Obama podcast or whatever. I'm sure that they
didn't work for free.
They demanded guarantees.
I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah,
it's almost like a paid speech of sorts. You could have that same analogy.
Rob, how come we didn't get a deal like that? Guaranteed revenue. We're going to give you.
Because we weren't the former president of the United States.
No, but it doesn't matter. We're just a simple fact that we're old school podcasters should have guaranteed at least $1,000 an episode.
Well, that's true. That's true. I think we could have always gotten that at least, Todd. But that's all right. It's just we don't expect that. So
right.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's all about giving, Todd. All about giving.
Well, yep. Okay. I have yet to read Tom's two-piece article on the 7 mistakes. Have you read this piece?
Oh, that podcasting can learn from radio, or radio can learn from podcasting, something like that.
Yeah, right? I haven't read that yet. I just haven't. I need a little more bathroom time to get through it.
Well, I can tell you some lessons that podcasting could definitely learn from the mistakes that radio made, and that's over commercialization and focusing on advertisers versus listeners, right?
But as soon as you start talking doom and gloom about no more money for advertising, you have all these content creators who've been, I'm going to get rich on podcasting, to be like completely devastated that there's no money out there for them.
Yeah. Well, Todd, this kind of raises another thing that we've talked about on the show many times, is the aspiration of this industry being a multi-billion-dollar advertising market, right? And how we've been striving to get much over $1 billion in ad revenue for what, 5 years now?
That was another part of the conversation I had on Twitter the other day, was that until you monetize the 97% that's not monetized today, you're not getting to $2 billion.
Right.
It's not happening.
Though some will say that we were right on the cusp of, and who knows, maybe we came close or something. I don't know what the final tally is going to show up as being, but.
Well, I was going to look at something. We need
the cliff now.
We need to go look and see. I haven't looked at this number in a while. And let's go over to podcastindex.org and let's look at the number. Past 3 days, 108,000 new episodes. 10 days, 248,000 episodes. 30 days, 359,000 new episodes. 60 days, 432,000. Now, here's the number. that should really set you back in your seat. 90 days, 483. Numbers are way down as far as number of new episodes being put out.
Wow.
That has trickled. That 90-day number has slowly came down. It was at its peak 650, 700,000 for 90 days. But
Yeah, that's not much content.
so with only
Content
with 359,000.
for 30 days.
So let's just look at 10 days, 248,000. Let's get the high school math calculator out here. And so how many Apple categories are there? There's like 30 some, right? 248,000 divided by 32 equals. It used to be you have to compete with about 10,000 shows. Now you only have to compete with 7,750 shows. But if you put a show out twice a week, you're only competing with about 3,500 shows per category.
Mhm.
So there's hardly any competition out there. It's a great time to be a podcaster, a great time to create content. It's actually, believe it or not, it is the best time to become a content creator.
So should we, in this chart here, shouldn't it be 7 days, 14 days,
It should.
and 30 days?
It should.
I'm not sure why the 3 day and 10 day is.
Well, we'll submit that as a motion to the board. Adam, I got a motion for the board of Podcasting 2.0. We'd like the podcast index chart to be 3, 7, 14, 30, 60, and 90.
Right.
Can you give me a second here, Rob?
Okay.
All right. Say second.
Get that done,
Say
Todd. Get that
you
done right
say
now.
you second that.
I second and
Okay.
third that.
Well, okay. So
Right.
you got now Dave and Adam can vote.
Yes. They can fourth and fifth it. Right.
No, they are the holders.
They are the deciders.
They are the
Right.
deciders.
Right. This is just a nomination of idea here, right? I don't know. Is there something lower than 7 days that would be?
There's a
worthy
3
here?
day in there. There's 100. So, oh, by the way, Tom says, Jesus, Todd, just eat some more fiber and read it.
Wow, that made my earphone pop out.
Should have been here earlier, Tom, when I was on blast on brand safety.
Right. It's
You catch it later.
okay to not be so safe. That's the key takeaway from that, right, Todd?
Right.
You don't have to be so safe.
Well, I can say that, and the advertisers can be like, okay, he doesn't know nothing. But
Grow some thick skin there, Todd.
no,
You
but
don't have to be so safe.
this is a real concern. And if everyone was 100% transparent and showed where their revenue line was, we would see someone's losing revenue, or people are keeping their accounts open and they're not closing. Someone is losing revenue somewhere. If this
In what
number is
part
down,
of the industry.
the
talking
hosting
about
industry is
hostings.
definitely, there's revenue being lost in the hosting industry. Someone is seeing a decline in revenue for sure.
Well, Todd, I think the hosting companies actually make more money when shows don't publish new episodes, right?
Well, if they keep paying
So-
their hosting bill, they do.
I mean, if there's 4 million shows, that means that there's still a lot of shows.
No,
that are
those
still
aren't
being
active.
hosted.
Those are not active shows. Those are shows that still have an
No,
R.
Yeah, they still have an RSS feed and they're still being hosted.
Right, somewhere. Yeah.
Right. So people are still paying something for that to
Right.
be hosted unless they're self-hosted. But even that has a fee to
But
it.
well, it's minor in compared to the actual bill for the bandwidth. Although
Right,
our
if you're
storage bill,
actively-
our pet, we're in petabytes of storage now, so it's not insignificant.
Right, the costs are more associated with active shows than they are with archive shows.
Yeah, there is a fixed cost though. Again, monthly spread across, for storage. Yeah.
Right.
You
Storage
still
and
have
some-
to
some
keep all
bandwidth.
this. You have to keep all the servers running. None of that decreases.
Yeah.
Not a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this number, that 90-day number has me. That that wowed me a little bit. That's come down quite a bit.
Mhm.
It's just been just trickle effect, and we're just gonna have to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, I
And
think that 10-day number, of course, I'm not able to look at it. How much we've lost, that 10 and 30-day number, how much we've lost on that. in the
well,
last
that's
months.
in the 2 months. Those numbers, like, we've seen that the biggest hit had already came
Right,
because
it's stabilized now. Is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
it's stabilized, but that 90-day number, that's catching up now. That's this number that it has dropped, and you would think it would, because it's every day that the variable from the previous 90 days is not in effect counting it. So
And if it's 90 days, anything beyond 90 days is basically inactive.
yeah, essentially 483, only 483 shows have published. Again, shows have published in the last 90 days. A show could have published 5 episodes in 10 days. So it's not episodes. This is shows. This is the number of shows.
Just a minimum of one.
A minimum
One
of one.
episode
There
in the
could
last
be
90
there could
days.
be more episodes.
Right.
So, like in a 10-day period, my show will put out 4 episodes. If they
This-
catch it Monday to a second Friday.
Yeah.
But that 3-day number is probably the one that's at running 108.
Yeah.
Not a big difference between 108 and 248 though. That's so probably about 200. Really, and if we look at it, there's probably about 200,000 active shows. It's probably much lower.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
brings that variable down even more.
Right.
So
And how many shows publish every 2 weeks?
I think
That's not represented here.
it's not. So again, if we had a 3-7, I don't know. I have to ask Dave if this data is available somehow where I can run my own spreadsheet on it. But
Yeah, I definitely agree. 7, 14,
yeah, 7, 14, 30 would be better.
30, right.
Yeah, because if we look at everything, and really it's based on a week.
Hmm.
Some shows are weekly, some are bi-weekly.
But some shows do publish twice a week.
I know some people are
daily.
doing daily.
Right.
God bless them. They're doing 5 shows a week.
Yeah, but they exist out there. It'd be interesting to be able to track those that are doing 2 to 5 episodes a week. I'm not quite sure how you would track that here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Well, he could come up with he could have a second chart in here that actually shows the number of episodes. That would be really cool to see the comparison in shows and episodes and see how that tracked across. But
I guess we could go crazy on this.
no, I could, and it's he's got the data. He just it's not in a chart.
Yeah.
Because all this costs money to process all this. That's another thing too. If you think this podcasting 2.0 initiative is good, throw them some dollars or
Mhm.
Satoshis, throw them some cash. You can fiat donate through PayPal right on the website. And
Tally coin.
yeah, you can do, just do, most people, throw them a PayPal. They'll take it. Spends
Right.
the same.
Right.
But, well, I guess we're going to get out of here. I don't think we got much more to say. We're just dragging.
We're dragging our feet, Todd.
Yep.
Across
And-
the finish line, we're clawing our way.
Yeah, and I've just it's been nonstop for me. It's just been busy like normal, and nothing. The email flow is the same. The meeting flow is the same. I do an average of 3.5 hours of meetings every day. So, death by Zoom.
Yep. Death by Zoom. Zoom.
Yep, for sure. I'm getting a lot more interviews of people using Zoom, too. And they record on Zoom. That's the thing that blows me away. I'm like, why are you recording on Zoom? Record locally and use that. But I guess that's what people are doing.
So when's the next podcasting event for you, Todd?
Well, it's probably going to be Podfest in person. We're not exhibiting, so Podfest and then Podcast Movement in Vegas.
Right.
And then if we decide we're going to go to London, probably the London show in May. I'm sure there's going to be a stuff in between.
So you're likely not going to do the NEB show
Oh, yeah, we're doing NEB. Yeah, we're going to NEB.
in Vegas.
Yeah,
Right.
so doing that. I just think of more pure podcast
So,
stuff. And
two trips to Vegas coming up.
yeah,
Right.
3 because I go for CES.
Oh, that's right. CES in January.
Yep. That's a working trip. That's no play. So it's you come back to the room and face plant at 2:00 in the morning.
Well, let me know if there's any opportunities at CES that you hear about.
Yeah, I'm just hoping the show is bigger this year. The show last year was pretty thin.
Yeah.
And we'll see. And what the true test was how much media is going to show up. We cleaned up because there was so few media outlets. They were too scared to travel last year. We'll see how many media outlets are there. With the price of airline tickets, though, right now, my God, it's like,
Is it expensive?
oh, it's
I haven't
great.
even looked.
It's insane. And I was looking like going back to Hawaii for Thanksgiving, and it's just, oh my God, unbelievable right now, the cost of airline tickets. So it's double. It's double what it used to be. I used to be able to do a $700 round trip. It's it's $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800.
Todd, it's almost like somebody doesn't want you to travel. Is that-
Well, it costs of fuel. Jet fuel's
I'll
not
say it
cheap.
again. It's almost like somebody doesn't want you to travel.
Jet fuel, baby.
Yep. But they're going to still keep making lots of money on it, though. Right?
But I am thinking about van life. So if anybody's listening out there,
van life?
yeah, I'm thinking about van life. You know about
You mean
van
living
life?
out of a van?
They've got these cool vans now that
Or like RVs kind of?
yeah, they're like a little mini RV.
living?
Yeah.
Right.
You can drive them, go anywhere with them. You can, they've even got self-built vans. People are like living out of old FedEx trucks. They modernize the inside of them, and, you don't know it sitting in a parking lot. It's somebody's house. So the van life is a little more obvious because you can tell it's a camper vehicle. But I'm thinking, but the price of them, though, holy crap. So I need to find a used one. So if anybody knows of like a 3-year van for sale somewhere that's decent, hit me up. I'm looking because I can't afford a $100,000 one that's brand new.
I think back during the pandemic, there was a big market demand for these motorhomes,
Right.
Because people were trying to get out of the cities and all
Well,
that stuff.
now
that
there's
market's collapsed.
Is collapsed the other way, but the van life stuff is still hot because you don't have to have a truck
It's the
to.
tiny home kind of
Yeah,
movement.
you don't need to have an $80,000 pickup to pull a $30,000 trailer.
Yeah, I've owned a fifth wheeler before, so I know what that's like.
No,
Yeah.
so I thought, I was looking at campers and stuff all this time. I'm like, why do I need that? I just need a place. They got these compost heads and they've got a little mini showers and
Yep.
and I just need a place to sleep and store some food and I can rock and roll. Take Starlink with me. Oh, Starlink it pissed me off. They went
Is
to
it working for you?
it's
Is it working
working
good?
great, but they went to bandwidth restrictions.
What?
Yeah, 1 terabyte, and on basically you get full throttle for 1 terabyte of traffic. Then after a terabyte, you go unthrottled.
Really? Wow,
Yep.
I'm surprised.
And if you want to be unthrottled, 25 cents a gig. That's pretty inexpensive, not?
Wow.
So rural America gets screwed again
Again. Wow. Okay.
because too many people in cities bought these things where you didn't need it, where you had a cable provider.
Yeah, that's not good.
Anyway, I've whined enough. Yep, van life. Thinking about it. So anybody knows of anybody? There's lots of them online, but I don't want
yeah.
one 10 years old. I want one that's going to have solar and something I don't have to fix up. I don't have to spend
Right.
20,000 in the shop because it's got 300,000 miles on it.
Well, the problem with it is you're going to get killed on the fuel for that.
Well, some are diesel, some are gas. So depends on which way you go. Yeah, you're going to get killed if you have a camper. You're going to get 8 miles a gallon anyway. So you're,
Right. Especially the bigger ones.
but the
right?
best thing is you can go somewhere and not live in a hotel,
Yeah, that's true.
and whack up $200 a day. So you can, if there's no, it's a offset. So anyway, all right, we get out of here. Everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with our nonsense today. And
KOAs, right? That's your future, Todd.
no, I'm not parking it. With a van, you can park it anywhere, as long as you legally
That's
can
true.
park. You don't
So
have
you-
to be in a.
Park in a grocery store parking lot
Yep,
if you want to, right?
You just need one place a month to dump the gray and dark. Actually, the dark is in a compost head. You just need more sawdust. So
Yeah.
you're good. So okay, everybody, thanks for
All
being
right,
here.
Todd. Boy, we've been all over the map today. on
Heck
this show.
yeah, we have, because the podcast news thin, very very
Yeah.
thin.
Well, we'll have to maybe think about a guest again, maybe.
Yeah. So use those new podcastapps.com. Get connected as a listener. Start seeing what's going on. Donate Satoshis to the show. 50,000 Satoshis, you get a sticker package. So that's the minimum. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Todd at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
And I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee, and hopefully I will be verified here soon, so you'll know it's me.
Does it guarantee you get a blue check mark if you pay?
That's what I understand.
I bet
but
you're going to
don't
have to.
know
I
for
bet you're
sure.
going to have to give them your driver's license to prove it's you. Do you want them
Well.
to really know it's you?
That
Therein,
is an interesting
therein
question.
lies the question.
It does. And I can be reached on email to rob.greenlee@gmail.com. And I do have a website at robgreenlee.com too. So if you want to follow me or send me an email, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Take care. We'll see you next time here on the New Media Show. Bye bye.